The PS2. It's my favorite console of all time, and it has a huge library of games. But one of my favorite games on the PS2 are the swordsman action games. The first one I want to go over is 7 Blades. This is brought to you by Konami. Yeah, this was released very early in the PlayStation 2 lifecycle. Not only that, but it was released in Japan and PAL regions only. As far as the story, well, you take the role of either Goku Rakumaru or Yuri. Both characters have separate scenarios, but they will intertwine with each other. There's also a sidekick character, Togiso, who holds the many swords for Goku Rakumaru in his campaign. He's quite the comic relief. And to be honest, this whole game is a comic relief. Anyways, Goku Rakumaru and Oyuri have an interest in finding this golden dragon. However, they get separated once they get hunted by the Shogunate's men. The gameplay has a hack and slash beat 'em up style, but it depends on who you play as. If you're playing as Goku Rakumaru, well, congratulations, this is basically hard mode. His playstyle has a melee approach, and his sidekick collects blades that Goku Rakumaru could use throughout the game. However, if you play as Oyuri, you will be playing as a shooter. You just target lock and shoot. However, she collects different kinds of guns instead of blades. And that's kind of my problem with the title of this game, because it's called 7 Blades. But also, this game is based off a movie called Sepang. This movie came out 10 years prior to the release of this game. And I'm like, so why not call it Sepang instead of 7 Blades? Well, the only guess I could make is that there was a popular manga and anime called Sepang. It's about the Japanese Navy, and it has nothing to do with this story. Anyways, 7 Blade is an interesting game. Check it out. The next game is Onimusha 2, Samurai's Destiny. This is brought to you by Capcom. And yeah, this game is a sequel. It stars Jubei and his friends teaming up and taking on Oda Nobunaga. I want to save details about this game for a future retro review, but the main story is about Jubei returning home to see his village destroyed. Word gets out that it was Nobunaga. Jubei meets historic figures, Eke and Magoichi, in the local town, and they all share a common goal: to take down Nobunaga. Later on, Jubei encounters Oyu and Kotaro, and they don't seem to get along well. But then again, when we first meet Magoichi and Eke, they don't get along at first. As far as the gameplay, it is a hack and slash with some RPG elements, which I will explain later. The gameplay has multiple ways to attack, with melee attacks, magic attacks, range attacks, and parries, which are called Isen. Isens are very rewarding, because if you get the timing right, you can one-shot enemies and gain many souls, and depending on the color, these souls could benefit you. Yellow one is to refill your health, the red one is for experience to level up, blue ones is to refill your magic meter, these purple ones is for you to transform into your Oni form. This is like your invincible mode once you have 5 purple souls. This game also has a bonding mechanic, which is the RPG part I mentioned earlier. Depending on who you invest from the group, your outcome will always be different in your group. So you give out these gifts, and each person will leave an opinion on you and your gifts.
Jubei! I love you!
Depending on how things go, your path with your allies will be different. Onimusha 2 is a fun game. Check it out. The last game is Way of the Samurai. This is developed by Acquire Games, which is known for the Tenchu games, and published by BAM in the States. Now, I went over the sequel in the past, and this one is no different. But long story short, Way of the Samurai plays like a create your own story game. Your path begins every time you're at this bridge. When you're here, you could save this woman who's being harassed by these swordsmen. You could ignore it. You could insult them. This game is pretty self-aware and jank, and I mean that in a good way. Even though it's easier said than done, this game wants you to avoid conflict with rival clans. I say this because, well, a lot of these characters could be quite unlikable at first. But once you know what the bigger threat is, yeah, you want to avoid having a civil war with these clans. Your swords can break during combat, but you could always pick up other swords from fallen enemies. You also unlock new skills for combat the more you progress. This game could be cruel as well, because let's just say you die in the game. You load up your save and what the heck? The game erases your save and you start from scratch. Like I said before, you're gonna see this bridge a lot. This is where the story of the Nameless Ronin starts. Again. And again. And again. Oh right, the Nameless Ronin. He does have a name. It's Kenji. He does have different builds and looks, but I'm gonna go with the default look. But yeah, this story just relies on choices, and that's how it branches out. This game can be short, even if you are going for the best ending, but there will be trials and errors. So this is definitely worth checking out. Alright, so that's 3 games from the PS2 that takes place during the Age of the Samurai. And I gotta say that these games have some comic relief. With Seven Blades, I feel like it should have its own show, because the heroes are goofy, the villains are goofy, this whole story is goofy. However, the gameplay is the weakest part of the game. Specifically the camera and the jumping mechanics. The camera control is very slow by using the shoulder buttons, and it sucks to jump in this game. It feels like a hop, especially in parts where platforming is involved. Seven Blades is worth checking out for curiosity, but I don't think the game has high replayability. Way of the Samurai could be a love it or hate it game, and I have a guilty pleasure for it. This game has jank, and I love it. Even without the humor, I really like the outcomes that you encounter in this game. This game is definitely worth checking out. And last but not least, Onimusha 2. This will be my favorite of the 3. It has high replayability mainly because of the ball mechanics in this game. You learn a lot from your comrades. Like, you learn that Eke is sensitive about being bald, but loves to cheer up with a drink. You learn that Maguichi loves to read books. Hotaru loves to learn about the world outside of Japan, and has an interest for foreign objects. And last, Oyu could be the love interest, but you learn that she has a sweet tooth and can act like a big kid. With that being said, this game could have a serious tone, but sometimes the characters act like they're in a Saturday morning cartoon. Also, the many times I played this game, I noticed sometimes the characters act like they're acting in a stage theater or a play. Like, look at the way they look away, like there's an audience. And you know what? I love it. Onimusha 2 is a fun game, and I'm glad this game took a different approach than just being a copy and paste from the first game. I highly recommend it. Check this one out. Alright, so that's all I have for this video. Thank you for watching, and I am out. Peace.